Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting of December 9th, 2024. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the Planning Board meeting of November 5th, 2024. Does anybody have any comments they'd like to make about that meeting? No. Then I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Planning Board meeting of November 5th, 2024. Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on, we have old business to complete first. The first is the sign board review. Saxon Sign Corp. representing the owner of 194 Broad Street seeking sign board review of 7 signs for the Hoffman's Car Wash. Is there anyone here to represent the applicant? Okay. I'm going to make a recommendation that we table this application until the January 2025 meeting. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then this is tabled till January. Agenda items 2 through 6 have been tabled at the request of the applicant, so they will also be tabled until the January 2025 meeting. Is there a make a motion that we table those until January 2025? Second. All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. The last, we have 6 seconds. 7, 6. In new business, we have first up the architectural review for Tresco Bank's Glens Falls project, C2 Design Group. Commonly known as 37 Bay Street and 11 East Washington Street, seeking architectural review for an existing structure of a bank, seeking to alter the facade and install a new canopy as well as ADA compliant ramp. Is there anyone here to represent this application? Hello. Can we have your name for the board or for the record, please?
Joseph Alkerley. I'm with C2 Design Group.
Great. Okay. How would you like to tell us about your application?
We're doing a renovation to the existing building for Tresco Bank. It includes the interior renovation and then obviously some exterior improvements. We sent over the building elevations with showing the proposed work along with the rendering of the cover page and a plot plan showing some site improvements. We are putting the building does not currently have an ADA ramp at the front on the main road, so that'll get a new ADA ramp for access up to the front, along with a new canopy, which extends the canopy to cover the entire new concrete patio or entryway, which is where they have the new ATM and night drop. And then we are also including new lighting upgrades on the building and painting the existing ethos.
Painting the what, I'm sorry?
Existing ethos finish on the building will get painted also.
Okay. We'll start first with our architectural consultant.
So just to clarify, on the back of the building, there's a steel stair
Yep.
that's getting removed,
Correct.
and there's a huge light shining down into the parking lot that's getting removed and replaced by,
It'll get a new wall pack light, yes.
okay,
Yep.
which is over the existing door that's in the back there, right?
Correct, and that door on the second floor will get infilled
Okay,
to match the existing material, and then it gets repainted
okay.
with the whole building.
Do you have a sample of the actual blue?
I don't have a physical sample, no.
Is the intent, because you just showed the front elevation, is the intent to coat all sides of the building with the blue?
Nope. The blue is just as represented on the front cover page. The rest of the building would be more of a gray, like a lighter gray color.
A lighter, I'm sorry, gray?
Gray, yes.
Is this Trustco's branding blue? Is this something that we could see? I think my concern is that, and it could be simply the way it was printed, that it is an extremely bright blue.
Yep.
I don't want to step on anybody's branding, but I
It is.
also think
Yep,
everybody wants to see what the real blue is.
right. It is part of their branding, you know, the blue, because Tresco is blue and white. We had conversations about the amount of blue.
Mm-hmm.
They did want to try to keep the blue just because it's part of the branding.
Sure.
If you have concerns, we are obviously open to, you know, discussions on that. We could minimize the amount, but they do want to try to maintain as much as possible.
Okay, so this is their blue, right?
That is, yes.
I mean, one of the things that we can discuss is whether it's everything shown here, or whether it's the band across the front and the cornice and those signs, or whether that is included or not.
The banding with their names for the
Yes.
sign, that would be an important piece to it.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think also the top cornice painting the blue is important for them.
Mhm.
If we need to look at possibly reducing the blue in that wing wall on the left, I think that might be an option that we could look at.
Yeah,
and
and
that would-
maybe the edge of the, let's see, you're showing the old canopy painted blue,
Correct.
and it looks like the new canopy,
The new canopy would be painted that blue.
right? And then what color are the new railings all around the building?
Black,
Black.
along with the light fixtures are black as well.
I mean, the building needs a cleanup, it will be a wonderful improvement to the exterior of the building. What about the drive-through, are you planning to paint that?
The canopy at the back for the ATM with the bank.
Yeah,
Yep, that'll get all new paint as well.
blue?
The blue hadn't been decided yet. The
Okay.
blue would be preferred at the back because it's branding for their ATM area.
Sure.
Perhaps the roof overhang, but the building itself, perhaps if that could match the body of the building, that would be consistent then with banding.
For the canopy,
Yeah, for the drive, for the
make
ATM.
the top around the perimeter blue, and then match the bottom part.
Does that make sense? So what I've sort of scribbled, circle. In other words, this, if I understand your rendering correctly, that's a fascia that is.
That's existing.
Right, and then this is the building itself down there.
Those are just columns.
Oh, those are just pylons,
Yep,
right.
That's an open canopy.
Okay,
So
got it.
it would just be that top portion that would be blue.
And then this connector is new, right?
That is new, yes. They switched their,
It's skinny, so that's your tubes?
that's the tube system, yes.
Okay.
Currently, they're an underground tube system,
Right.
but there's a lot of issues with the underground in up north. There's a lot of maintenance problems with ice and freeze-ups,
So you're
which is why we're bringing
doing
it
it
up.
that way, that's the
Yep.
point to point, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my only thoughts are perhaps reconsider the amount of blue that's on there, not at all wanting to take away from the branding color that
Mhm.
Fresco has. Those are my comments, Rachel.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Green?
I have no further comments.
So I agree with you that like the blue seems very bright, and I don't know which printing of it.
Mhm.
It seems really bright. If, what side would you be going to reduce the painting up over here?
The wing wall here.
Yeah.
Are you saying this question here?
Yeah.
You're saying that, right, well,
Correct.
this.
Yep, that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're hoping for
Okay.
as well.
Yep.
Would you be willing to reuse that, use that on this side?
The
over
blue?
here?
Yes. If we kept this portion,
Yeah.
if we could keep that band and then also this band for the signage,
Okay.
I think Trust would be happy with us.
Okay, so we, like, yeah, so not have it, have that?
Not have.
Right.
Yep.
And this,
Yeah, but this is
or,
essentially all the sign.
correct, okay. Alright, so that's it.
And you've also submitted for the sign itself, right?
The signage package is already approved
Okay.
under a separate approval, I think back in August.
The signs in the window, they've already been approved, like these, or?
All of those?
This one.
I know the main building signage was approved in the August planning board meeting, I believe.
What is that?
the signage for the building, there was 3 signs that were approved under a separate planning board meeting back in August, I believe.
Yeah, but we didn't see this. You know, because I look at this whole thing and this whole band across where it says Trustco Bank as a sign,
Yeah.
and that's not what we approved.
Okay.
I've never seen this before, so that's not what we approved.
Okay,
And I remember when it came here, and I never saw any pictures like this.
okay. I'll have to follow up with, I think Saxton Sign was the one that handled it, so I'm not aware. But I can follow up with them.
Yeah, please.
Art, are you saying that you're considering the band the sign?
Yeah, I mean, that's a sign. And they came in here months ago, and we
With
approved.
just the letters?
Yeah, it was just letters on that building. It was none of this blue here, none of this stuff.
Right.
You know, and now this is a total different, you know, than what we've seen before.
But the signs with the Trustco name was approved, correct?
Yeah,
So that was okay.
The white letters.
yeah, but it was, the building looked nothing like this. Like now I'm looking at this, and this whole band, as far as I'm concerned, that's a sign,
Mhm.
you know? And it didn't look like that when we approved that before.
Right.
The blue definitely wasn't there.
No. What about the signs here, Karen? Do they have to get them?
They would.
Yeah.
From PJ?
PJ, do you know if the smaller signs down below, would they apply for?
I don't believe so. Going up what was,
I just remember the 3 signs on the building, like the back
yeah,
side.
those were, there were 3 signs. 2 were code conforming and 1 did planning board or sign board review. But I don't remember
The windows.
the window sticker.
Would those 7 window signs wouldn't that be included in the signage for
Correct.
footage? Yeah.
That's anything else, Mr. Land, or Mr. Landy?
I think if nothing else, to kind of go along with the question about the signage is, it's just a lot of blue,
Mhm.
a lot of blue. I'm like Artie, if I'd remember if I'd seen this before.
Yep.
You know, I think it's a matter of defining what is the sign. I would think a lot of it is with a building like this, what you see for signage at eye level, since you're on a narrow street, you're not be looking at it from, you know, 500 feet. Then I would think the bottom part would be the most important part.
Yep.
You know, but like I say, it's just kind of a shocking thing for the area. When you think about it, you got a beautiful brick building on one side. You've got Maple and Bay on the other.
Mhm.
I mean, this gives it a real contemporary feel to it. So, I would, like I say, I'd like to kind of reserve opinion to see what the signage says.
So none of this blue is gonna wrap around the back of the building?
The intent was for the top blue around the cornice.
Okay.
That would wrap the building.
Oh, that would go all the way around?
Right.
So
Just that,
maybe
just
we
that
wanna
top
see
band
some
on top of
pictures
it.
of the back of what it's gonna look like with the,
Including the drive-through
Yeah.
canopy, so
Yeah.
people have a sense.
I think it's hard to picture it's hard for me to picture what it's gonna look like from the back with the new canopy and the ramp.
So then if you redo that, I would suggest removing the blue from that wing wall,
Yep.
as everybody was sort of
It's
discussing.
too much.
And it seems a little unbalanced because it's just on one side.
Yeah.
Just from, I'm not an architect, but just, looking at it quick.
Well, compared to everything else on the street, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
I mean, taking that wing wall out might make a big difference.
I agree.
The approval from the board in August was for an 84-inch by 86-inch aluminum and plastic wall sign. But it doesn't state what the colors were.
Yeah, this is not that dimensional.
That sign is on, if you're looking at the front of the building,
The side.
it's on that side with the wing wall.
yeah,
Yes.
That was why that,
It was for that,
right.
that one.
So the sign on the front of the building is replacing a pre-existing sign.
Okay.
And when we replace pre-existing signs of the same dimensions, we don't require board approval.
But this will approve, board approval, because it's completely different, right?
Well, it's replacing the TD Bank or whatever
Yeah.
that's currently there with the same dimensional sign. So if you want to consider that the blue band is a part of the sign and that it changes the characteristics of the sign, that's something that the board will have to come to. As was originally presented to us, it was just swapping out
Replacing the
TD
letters.
Bank
Yeah.
and putting on the Trustco Bank. The overall elevations were presented when we got the original sign application.
So this is architectural review. So maybe you go back and bring us some drawings that have updated sort of what we talked about, and maybe the back of the building too, and the drive-through, so we can get a sense of exactly where all the blue is.
Yep.
Does that
Yep.
make sense?
And right, and your drawings say, the key says, existing drive-through canopy support columns to be painted, color selected by architect. Can you give us the colors that you want?
Mhm.
Like if it's gray, this isn't gray, right? It's cream, so maybe
Correct.
you can
Yeah, the rendering, or the image on the front was just done for part of the sign package, so some of the
Okay.
colors didn't reflect. They should have reflected the colors that we were picking.
The colors that you
Like the
actually
tan,
want.
right, the tan that's shown here is actually the existing color.
Uh-huh.
And I can provide, if you want to see a physical sample of, the blue and the gray,
That would
along
probably
with the renderings, I can
probably be
certainly,
a good idea.
I can
Yeah.
certainly provide that, yeah.
Nothing on the left side, and I don't know about the canopy. Did you want nothing on, no blue on the canopy in the front?
Well, I mean, I think people are concerned about the amount of blue, so my suggestion would be when you do the front renderings to make that the gray that you intend the body of the building to be.
Okay.
But yes, bringing colored chips in would be helpful. And then elevations showing everything that you want to be blue all around the building.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For example, if you want that point-to-point that connects the ATM to the building, what color do you want that to be? Do they want it to be?
It
Just
would,
show it
yep.
as-
Yeah, the intent was to have it blue also, but based on the concerns, we can certainly revisit it.
Just so we can do a full architectural review, because if we don't have it, it's sort of hard to make a decision about it, and just, so if we have the chips and we can see the color that the front of the building is gonna be, the signs, where it's gonna be, like Nina was saying, all of the details, that would be helpful to us.
One of these letters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So for when I update the rendering to reflect what we talked about, would we still be open to having, if I show the blue at the Trustco Bank sign at the middle there, and then keep the blue possibly at the top corners, to have you guys see that? Are we still open to that, to do the blue at the top?
I think if as Art and Tom were sort of saying that maybe it's just Art, if you're considering that entire piece of fascia on the building, the sign now, because it's the color and the words, PJ, that would mean they would need to submit for a variance for that sign because it's too
Yeah, so,
large, correct?
as was originally submitted, it was just a swap from the Citizens Bank to Trustco, so it was approved. I'm going to hold the applicant, let them know that circumstances have changed, that the approval's been rescinded, and will have to come before the board for review.
Is that what we're saying that is, we want to consider that the sign because of the color?
Well, it's so bright, it doesn't go with anything on the street, and it does look like that's the sign,
Yeah, I mean, that's what they can do, is submit that as the sign.
Yeah, I think we need to know what the sign committee will accept.
And then to see what the rest of it's gonna look like, the other elevations
Sure.
now,
If they count those 7 window signs plus the Trustco, I mean,
Is this another one here, like?
What's that, I'm sorry?
What's that?
What was that, I'm sorry?
This thing right here,
That's a pylon sign, yes.
yeah.
That was part of that previous August.
that's a sign too?
Yeah, there's a small pylon. That was.
But then you're gonna have drive-through signs, that pylon sign. And then the big sign on the side of the building over here.
Well, directional or informational signs of a purely informational nature, like pole up here, does not require a permit or review.
Right.
So it's only advert.
But this, if this is a pylon sign here that says Trustco Bank as people are driving by,
Correct.
Right.
But the drive-through signs and whatnot,
well, if it says
signs.
Trustco on there,
Do you have a rendering of what that sign looks like, what it says?
It was part of the science package, yes, but I thought that was
Yeah,
shared.
but do you,
Not with the submission, no, I thought that was already submitted with
okay.
the previous
But I
package.
think we'd like to know what's on that sign too.
yeah, usually, I mean, you know, other businesses that come in, that's all, you know, we have these things all, that's shown in the drawings. You know, we have elevations that show that if the finished product's gonna look like.
So it sounds like there's an issue of what was approved in August for the signs and what is on the drawings now.
It's looking like with the approval package that it was just the sign on the side of the building.
Yes.
And changing
It
the
wasn't
letters
the
here.
exact same, it was that.
Yeah, it wasn't the pylon. Yep.
Again, of the 3 signs that were submitted, 2, I believe the pylon and the front, without the blue white band, were code compliant. The only one that wasn't code
What was the
compliant
big one?
was the second, because that's a swap from the Citizens Bank logo to Trustco. So that doesn't require sign review. It was the sign on the back of the building, or the side of the building, was a second attached sign, which the code prohibits, so that's why it came in front. The other 2 signs were code compliant, the freestanding sign and the first wall attached sign. So those did not require, at the time they were submitted, with what was submitted, sign review. It's just the second building attached sign.
But if the pylon is their color and has their name on it, that becomes a sign?
They did apply for that, and they are allowed one freestanding sign
Okay.
per code. So it was code compliant
Okay.
based on being a freestanding sign and the size.
Got it, thank you.
And just to clarify, PJ, correct me if I'm wrong, the window information, these window signs here that
That would
Joe
still count
claims,
towards
those,
square footage,
Yeah.
so that would need to be applied for as well.
Yeah.
The 24-hour ATM one, that would fall under the.
well, the
informational,
windows,
but
those
the-
window signs, as long as they stay within the required percentage of a window area, those don't need a variance and won't
Correct.
necessarily come from the board, right?
So, for next month, if you can do those things for us and bring back, you know, a full package, so you can see the front, the back, the actual colors, the color, the chips. And then we can deal with the sign, with PJ, and, I guess that's been approved in pylon, so we don't need to see that, I guess. Anything else? The elevations and everything that.
Yeah, that'll allow everybody to see the whole package
Yeah.
all the way around.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can see the canopy in the back and everything as well.
Mhm.
I think it'll help determine too what is technically a sign and the color of the sign and then what the rest of it, what's the building.
Right.
Well, I think the code office would interpret the side of the building, the band, just to
Right.
fall under architectural review.
Right.
And they've interpreted the letters to be the sign. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever.
So if you don't like the blue band, that falls under architectural
That's what
review.
Right, right.
Well, and to see the actual blue will be good too, because it's
Yeah,
hard to
a
tell.
sample would be.
Yeah. Okay. So we should table this until next. I'll make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as a Board of Architecture Review, table the project, Trustco Bank Glens Falls Project, C2 Design Group, representing Trustco Glens Falls, commonly known as 37 Bay Street and 11 East Washington Street, to be tabled until the meeting of January 2025.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Okay.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the architectural review of the Point at 10 Broad Street project, property development, representing Peter Shabbat, owner of tax map number 309.28-5-4, commonly known as 10 Broad Street. Seeking architectural review for new construction of 3-story.
Chair, before we get started on this,
Yes.
Hopkins has arrived, and I'm assuming the weather delayed them for the sign review, so if we can do that at the end. But
Perfect, thank you.
just give you the-
We're starting with the point, yes.
It's also site plan review.
It's also site plan.
So this is not sketch plan review, it's site plan review, architectural review.
Hello.
Good evening. For the record, John Lapper with Chris Patton and Ethan Hall. So we're here to talk about separately the next 2 projects, both on South Street, one 10 Broad and one on the corner of South and Elm. Separate projects, but obviously both important on a street that's being renovated and upgraded, and these are kind of the 2 eyesores, and Chris has them both under contract, which he's thrilled about. The second one that we'll talk about, the Elm Street corner, is really not site plan because that's existing building, just architectural upgrades. And we really appreciate getting the letter from Nina, getting focused today on what your issues are on the design stuff. But the Rite Aid site that we're talking about first.
Can you please speak up? We would like to hear.
I'm speaking as loud as I speak. So
John, can you put that microphone to the side? It's just,
I'm not going to yell at anybody, so I appreciate nobody yelling at me. The Rite Aid building, we all know it used to be, the whole thing was a gas station, completely impermeable. Rite Aid came in probably 25 years ago, and now it's been abandoned and derelict on an important visual corner. So Chris's idea is to redevelop the whole thing with enough parking. Of course, the Elm Street building doesn't require parking, but enough parking to handle the apartments on both, which is just great for him to be able to rent them and for people to be able to have nearby parking. So we think they're both really important. They're kind of the last 2 buildings, well, 2 of the last buildings that need to be renovated on that block. So with that, I'll have Ethan walk you through the architect and the site plan on the Point.
Thank you.
Good evening. For your records, Ethan Hall with Brzezinski Hall Architecture. So the first drawing that I have up is the existing site plan showing where the existing Rite Aid is, Broad Street, South Street, school runs this way. It shows the actual layout of the building. The existing Rite Aid building is 3 foot 5 inches from the western property line. It's built right up against the property line. The entire portion here is paved. There's a little bit of green space on this side. There is an asphalt driveway that comes back here to their loading and unloading area. For all intents and purposes, that's the extent of it. The existing lot coverage, the non-permeable or the permeable area is 15.67%. The setbacks are 20 feet on South Street, 20 feet on School Street, 20 feet on Broad Street, and 15 feet on the side yard. So the proposed building, the lot would be parking. The building would be above the parking. So we have 56 spaces shown. The building sits right on the setback line all the way around. It follows the 15-foot setback, so we're moving the building from a 3 foot 5 inch setback to a 15-foot setback along the western property line. Then it follows the 20-foot setback on the other 3 sides. All of the parking is on the surface. Up above that, the main first floor of the apartments, and then the second floor above that. So it's a 3-story building, parking all on the main floor, all in the main area. 2 entryways going in and out of the building. There's an in only coming from Broad Street, and the in and out is on South, because Broad is the more heavily traveled street. This portion of South Street is not very heavily traveled, so in and out onto South was a better option for us, trying to come out onto Broad Street and make a left next to impossible, but people get in off of Broad Street coming both ways. This actually coming out onto South Street, going west hits a light, going east hits a light. So we've got lights going both directions. This is an enlarged plan showing the parking area itself. One thing that I wanted to mention on the site plan, it is the intent to run a fence along the sidewalk on Broad Street, along this portion of South, or of School, and along this portion of South as well, so that the sidewalks have the same type of
The wrought iron.
aluminum, yeah, the anodized aluminum fence that would be the low fence along there to keep people from cutting through and going that way. So our building, so this leaves us this strip, and this strip that'll be exposed because the building's above it and it's exposed on the outside. So
The
Chris,
building's actually gonna be above the, or
yeah, so the building won't be above the parking spaces. So Chris says to me, he says, how do I maintain those? How am I plowing that? So we're actually gonna put in heated concrete on those three sides to melt everything so that it comes down, whatever comes down can be melted off. It can be captured, we can get it into the ground right there, and that way it doesn't run off. So we don't have to worry about where are we piling snow. So the maintenance of this will be the in and out portion here and this portion back here, which goes back to the dumpster. So as far as maintenance goes, very, very little maintenance. Again, this is the enlarged version of it. The two stairwells and the elevator, the fire sprinkler room. This is the maintenance shop area for Chris's, for him to store all the stuff that he's gonna need to take care of the property. Here is the parking along South, the parking along School, and the parking along Broad Street. Both floors are the same, both of the upper floors are the same, 12 apartments per floor. It's a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. They range in size from, our largest one is 1,955, that's a 2 bedroom, 2 bath with an office. There's 2 of those. And then the 1 bedrooms go down, I think the smallest 1 bedroom is 911 square feet. So they range in size from 1955, there's a couple of them that are 1,300 that are 2 bedroom, 2 bath, there's some 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and then 1 bedroom, 1 bath. So it's kind of a mix of different sizes and different styles of floor plan layout. Each apartment has a covered balcony. So each one has a balcony looking in a direction. It doesn't stick out from the building. It's flush, it's brought back into the building, so there's nothing that protrudes out. As I said, both floors are identical. The layout is exactly the same for both floors. These are the flat elevations showing where everything is. This is looking at the South Street side, the balconies. This is the point looking down towards South Street. There's a couple of balconies here. This is the Broad Street side facing, this is the Broad Street side. So we've got balconies on the end here, balconies in the middle, and the balcony on the point looking back out that way.
They're recessed in.
Everything is recessed in,
Kind of like,
like 14 months ago.
yeah, that's
Unlike the mill, but like 14 months ago.
right.
And then this is looking from South Street. This is standing at South Street, looking back down South this way, Broad Street this way. This is the point at Broad Street. That's kind of
the point is at
the whole idea. So we've got, the sidewalks that run around here, entries coming in off from Broad this way, and it comes out the west end of the building and wraps around onto South over here. 2 stories above. A couple of the questions that Nina had asked in the layout of this.
Nina, what you sent the board, I shared with the applicant.
Got it, okay.
Yep.
To clarify, just so you know.
Yeah, no, just so I didn't
It's
know
helpful
that.
for them to know in advance.
Would you like me to let her go and then we can respond? I mean, a couple of the things, just basically, HVAC is all going to take place on the roof. All the condensers and everything. There won't be anything ground mounted. There won't be anything hanging off the side of the building. It'll all be up on the flat roof. We've got parapets that run all the way around. That'll hide all of that. The elevator run by obviously sticks up above the 2nd floor. We will probably take one of the 2 stairwells and extend that up to the roof as well, just so that we can get access up there. So that maintenance can get up there without having to do anything. It is a flat roof, it's all internally drained. Bring that down and get it into the ground that way. I guess that's a pretty good start. I'll leave it for you guys for questions.
Thank you.
How high is the fence? Because it looks higher in, oh no, the fence, so the fence is low. What I'm seeing is,
That, you're looking at the second, the underside of the first floor, second floor.
That's, you can just see the line where the fence is.
Yep.
I see it right there.
there.
That's the part.
The gray part is the garage space.
Correct.
And are we looking then at the green space in the front at the park?
This is kind of a rendering of what's there now. This portion is all treed and planted. If you go out there and look at it
Yeah.
and what was done,
Yeah.
this portion is all, I took this out because it was hiding the building.
You can't see it.
What's going to happen to that? 'Cause
Just gonna say,
not ours.
it's not even on his property,
That's in the city right away.
Right, so
that's
that
all.
stays as it is.
Yep.
And then this,
That looks better.
I agree. I asked Ethan if I could, make some changes to that,
Yeah,
your
you know
provision.
what? That looks better.
Yeah, I agree. It will hide some of the cars over there at the forefront of that, initial parking space
You
out
did
there.
the shrubs on that other project.
Agreed.
You-
Nice buffer though.
But that could work with the city later on and, have a thing where if you take care of it and make it nice, whatever, as being.
Yeah, I did ask him, I asked Ethan that if I could
Yeah.
maintain it, because I'll be the closest one.
and then of
Before,
course,
before we get into that, let me just ask the public if they have any questions, we
Absolutely.
can just go from
Yep.
there. Would anybody in the public like to comment on this application? Sure, so please come on up.
This is see these drawings.
I don't need to do this.
Sir, can you please give us your name for the record?
Yes, I'm Gary McCula, and I'm in the property at 3 Broad Street, which is right across the street from this subject property.
Thank you.
I guess the first thing is, I think it's a good thing that he's providing parking for both this property and the one that's down the street. But I don't think that the parking should take up the entire property, and regardless of any other design standards for parking lots. If you look at other parking lots in the city, those have been recently rebuilt or built. Hudson Headwaters, the other city parks, Union Square right across the street, they'll have landscape buffers around the parking lot separating the sidewalk from where the cars are parked so that you're not walking, basically along the edge of the parking, seeing the bumpers of every car that you walk by. This project basically has none of that. At least the site plan does not show any green space adjacent to the building. So I think it's weird that you're showing what's not on the site plan in this rendering. Anyway, you're on the sidewalk and it's this aluminum fence, and then there's the cars parked there. And then 20 feet back from that, the building rises out of the ground and set on piers, which again is very odd. It's unlike anything else that I've ever seen in any urban environment. Usually if there's a parking garage under the building, it's basically within the footprint of the building. It's not sticking out from it. So anyway, I think it's a little bit odd. The fence that goes all the way around the property, this is right downtown. If we're trying to encourage a walkable city, people being able to come out of their apartment, walk downtown, get a drink, do whatever, this building has no front door. The pedestrians and the users of the building are going to have to walk around the fence, up the driveway, underneath the building, sort of into the sort of basement bowels of the building, into the front door, which is this little, vestibule buried underneath the building. So the fact that the building has no front door is very, very strange. And I think if you're going to have people from down the street also using the parking lot there, you're requiring them to basically walk around the fence and also use the drive. But if you look at the site plan, there's no pedestrian paths once you get underneath the building. So you're basically, all the pedestrians are walking on driveways. You're basically walking through a parking lot. There's no pedestrian-friendly elements to this entire project. So anyway, and the fact that your site plan doesn't show the park that's there is, again, very strange. The fact that you're showing what's not the park in this rendering is also very strange. It wasn't in the package that I saw online, so this is new to me to see this right now. The other thing is, you're not even, so you're showing green space where the cars are going to be. So this green space right here are the front ends of all the cars. Okay, then why are you showing it that way?
This was put together to give the idea of what the building looked like, and we tried to fit it into it.
Okay, well, the parking lot and the building are sort of one and the same.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so that's a site plan issue. The building itself, the fact that it's raised off of the ground on these piers, it's kind of floating above the ground, I think it's a little bit odd that there are like 24 different facades going around the building. I don't know why the building isn't one building, doesn't read as one building. I'm not sure what it's trying to accomplish, looking like a series of 24 little houses set up on piers above a parking lot. I think it's very inappropriate for the downtown. I'm not sure what it's trying to match. And yeah, I mean, I think in your description you said there was brick on the building. Again, I don't see brick on this rendering.
It's in the bottom.
What's that?
It's on the bottom. It's on the bottom.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, that's what I have to say. I think it's an inappropriate, I think it's overbuilt for the site, and there's no site amenities for basically people using it outside of people driving into the parking lot. And I don't think it's ever friendly for any of the users, any pedestrians that even aren't using the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Please come on up.
Hello, my name is Frida Toth, and I live on Goodwin Avenue. And my concerns are generally about variances and about going with the plans that have been submitted. Mr. Belden was saying about an earlier thing that the sign was not the one that was approved, and that it was important that what was approved be the thing that is actually built. And this is a concern because Mr. Patton does not have a consistent history of producing what he says he's going to build. I live on Goodwin Avenue, and at the end, what is now 28 Union, he promised 24 trees, shrubs,
Excuse me,
grass.
this is comment about this project. So if you have a comment about this project, we'll accept your public comment. This is not about past projects.
What we should keep in mind is that past behavior predicts future behavior. And if we're going to vote based on something that is promised, we have to understand that past behavior predicts future behavior. And that is what is going to happen in a neighborhood.
Do you have a comment about this project? Because that's what this public comment is for.
I am unclear on what the variances are.
There are no variances being requested for this project.
For this particular one.
This is the planning board, architectural, and site plan review.
All right, then my comment on this project is that I hope it will be everything that it needs to be, and that I hope the planning board can make it be something that is useful.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to comment? Okay. Nina, you want to go back to our architectural consultant?
Can you go back to the rendering that you did?
What do you want to be?
The rendering. So just so I understand, because that's different from the site plan, but according to the site plan, we build to the edge, which is the fence line.
Yes.
And then there's sidewalk, and then there's street.
Correct.
That is the.
That's what's there.
condition.
The green space is on this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner.
Right. So I think what we were hearing in one of the comments was, and just so everybody understands, there will be sidewalk, and then there's going to be the fence, and then the front bumpers of the cars will be up against the sidewalk. There isn't the buffer.
Is there any way we could see a rendering that instead of grass, I mean, you've got grass showing where it's gonna be parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, we can, again,
I mean, the grass between the sidewalk and the building and the fence is gonna be.
That's where the cars are gonna be
That's
parked.
where the cars are
Right,
gonna be
that's
parked.
pavement, and then
This is
also
right
the
here.
sidewalk.
Yeah, that's the.
There's a sidewalk and then there's the fence and
Yeah.
there's
So the
rail
fence
to
is
the
actually
sidewalk.
going to be on the sidewalk.
The fence is gonna be right up against the sidewalk, and
Right.
the work that was done on South Street to redo that was done after our survey. So there is a little bit that's not there, that doesn't show, so we can update the site plan to make that show where we're gonna be.
So is there going to be
This,
the
no,
buffer, I'm
this,
sorry, is there gonna be the buffer between the road and the
there,
street?
there will not. No, Gary was correct. The fence is gonna be similar to what we've done over here on Washington. The fence is gonna be right up against the edge of the sidewalk. To address the issue of being able to walk out from inside it, we do have spaces to be open. We can get through this portion to get out to South Street. I can get through this portion to come out to Broad Street, and I can get through this portion to come out to that. There
will be an entrance on the front of the building.
well, the entrance to the building is
No, I mean-
here.
So if someone's walking up South Street where you go to that
We
point,
can pop through here.
they can't go in through that front? How about
They can come in through here, but they couldn't come in through here. We don't really want people walking.
I was gonna say, it's by design. We don't.
No, I understand, then the way it is downtown?
Cameras and lights, and we
Six-
funnel people to our entrances and exits by design.
Yep.
So we
But
can make sure
walking,
monitors.
can there be a break in the fence
Yes.
at a corner?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can
sure.
we can certainly put a break here or here, either of these two spaces to get us out to the
People living there
sidewalk.
wanted to walk over to the park. and just-
Right.
No, agreed.
We're not gonna have to walk all the way back.
Correct,
walk
and same
forward.
thing, we can make the opening come through here. You know, this whole side, this
Yes,
whole
that's
western side is a solid wall, and that goes up against, and this is all green, where right now there is none. Again, this is green space out front, I can make the walking space come right through this corner here, I can get through both of these corners to get out the sidewalk.
Really try to discourage people
Right.
from being on our property. They don't,
And
have
the
rights to
water
do so.
inside. As far as being able to, pedestrians inside this space, this is a one-way around, so it's one-way coming in this way or coming in this way. This is a 20-foot drive aisle for one-way traffic. Okay, way more than what's normally done for one-way traffic. So we've done that. The spaces are also 9 by 20, which is larger than, so it's for maneuverability. There are several places down in Saratoga, Railroad Avenue, that are very similar to this. That you drive in and they're right there. You actually build up on top of it. So that's what we're kind of going for, is doing that and trying to build to the site. The site is an odd-shaped site. We understand
Like
that.
14 Hudson,
Correct. Correct.
right to the sidewalk.
Correct.
And it's familiar, it's a GC1, so I mean, CCD is, has this consistency all over the place. It's a downtown district.
Right.
And we really need every single parking space, because not only are we housing the apartments that are between 46 and 56 South, as well as the 24 units here, we will have 5 new commercial spaces that are really good places to park as well. So,
The other thing to keep in mind is that our permeability increases with this, even though we are all parking on the main level with building above it. Our permeability goes up to almost 18%. So we're obviously more than
And
what's
there's a
there.
lot of mixed-use buildings that have, commercial space on the first floor and apartments up above.
Right.
You're just eliminating the commercial space for parking.
and we're utilizing the commercial space at the 4656 South, and this is
South,
kind of what supports
This
it.
allows that to be renovated, it allows
Right.
South Street to get
It's
upgraded.
different.
And the one comment, and maybe I should say, as far as being 24 different buildings, I look at the side of this and it makes me think of like looking at the buildings on Warren Street or on Glen Street. They're different heights. Instead of it being one building and one facade all along there, looking like some big industrial commercial building, it looks like a bunch of individual buildings.
This
We try to
design-
break it up purposely.
Yeah, it's from feedback from the planning board, from history.
Yeah. And we did, we asked for that on the other one. It looks like a bunch of individual buildings. And that's what
And
our
not all,
city's
not
made
all the
of.
same city line, all the same roof lines, the change in lines, the change in depth, character, everything.
Before we jump in too much, I think we
I have some additional questions and
Certainly.
comments. What's the material that you're using for the base?
For the facade, so the big
No,
flat.
the parking. In other words.
First floor, right?
Oh, on the
in other
first
words,
floor?
This,
So we've got brick on the,
Beam.
we've got brick on the pilasters up to probably chest height.
right,
And then above that was going to be EIFS,
okay.
some kind of a stucco to make that blend together. And then it's open, so obviously all of these spaces are open. underneath.
past, this board has felt very strongly about brick and the importance of it as part of the vocabulary downtown, especially as we're right now getting into the core of downtown.
We could certainly bring that up to the underside of the
And
first floor.
I think that would be helpful, and I think it would ground it, and I think that you do have a lot of different materials going on there, so that would be helpful.
Sure.
And then can we look at the color rendering again?
So where the gray is, that could all be brick?
Well, yes, we would bring the brick up to this
Yes.
white band.
Yeah, instead of the ephes, replace the ephes with brick.
Yeah.
Put
One
away-
all brick.
I mean, that's, it's a
Fine.
suggestion I have. Now,
I would still like to break it with a band about
Because
chest
it's gonna be
height.
hard to match all those other colors with the red brick, like, is it gonna work with all that?
well, I mean,
We can make that work.
we're sort of working our way through it. Yes, I don't disagree with the
I
water
would-
table.
I would like to have a
band
water
that we
table
have.
at
Yes,
about
yeah,
chest height.
absolutely. I guess what I'm saying is, that picks up on the brick that we have going on downtown as we start moving in. And then it's interesting because you're showing it fairly monochromatic right there, in terms, which
Yeah, it's
isn't
kind of-
what I had in my mind when I saw this, because you do have a lot of different materials going on. And I would actually just put the question out there. We have, what's going on now will be sort of larger monumental buildings downtown. There is, in other words, it's not out of place. You've got Union Square across the street. That reads as a single building. You're going to have the Bonaccio building. That's going to read as a single building with articulation on it. And then I'll call it the NIMS building. That's a single, very kind of monumental type building. So I personally don't know that it's necessary to make it look residentially in that way. I mean, it's an apartment building, it is what it is. I agree with, a variety of maybe textures and materials, and my guess is that these bump ups, they're hiding your rooftop units and such.
Yeah, some.
Yeah, right. And we have,
They'll be hidden
there's lots of
mostly just with the height.
precedent for the dentals and the cornices and all of that. But I almost wonder if just from a materials point of view on the facade, a little bit of like simplification to sort of brick to what's above. It,
Yeah, we can take that.
I mean, just
Are you
as
talking
a
about the elevated sections?
I'm talking about, so you've got some panelized here, and then you've got horizontal siding here, and then you've got vertical siding here, and I understand breaking it up. And it does look more subtle in that rendering than it does in these drawings. I'm just saying, we don't have to mimic townhouses because there are big buildings around there. The mill is a big building.
I was more doing it just to try and break up the facade.
Yeah.
Just so that it's not
Well,
one big
I like
triangle.
it,
So do I.
but it's-
Yes.
It's a little bit like Fowler Square by Queensbury Town Hall.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we were
The
going for.
nicest building in our area here, I
It's
think.
just
Break-
trying to
break
break
something
it
It
up.
looks like a bunch of buildings, like when you
Yeah,
walk up
exactly.
and you
And that
notice
was
the different
Chris-
blocks.
That was the intent of Chris Nathan.
Right.
Yeah.
When you think about it, this is gonna be kind of reminiscent, because all the houses up Broad will eventually be gone. And this is gonna kind of be a little bit a reminder of that. So it isn't just a commercial corridor.
What's the brick on South Street? Isn't that painted brown?
The brick on the south end Elm?
Yeah,
It's a gray tone brick right now.
Yeah.
right. Isn't that been painted?
I don't think so.
It's a gray tone brick.
The old NIMS building that you
Yeah,
correct.
bought,
Yeah.
isn't that?
Some of the first floors.
Some of the first floor is, but for the most part,
Not the bulk
it's,
of it.
All right.
it's gray, yeah, it's gray brick.
It's gray brick, it's
It
not
is.
red brick.
No,
Yeah, it's unique.
Okay,
It's concrete brick.
yeah.
well, sort of. Not really concrete.
It's old.
It is old brick. Anything else?
No, I guess it would be nice, to see a rendering that lets us understand
Yeah.
this. Throw-
Yeah, we can.
Throw some cars in there and,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, and we'll get the surveyor to pick up the actual park and show that, because like I said, that was changed after our survey was done.
I mean, obviously, you can't put the trees there because we won't see it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's, yeah,
But-
that's why I took them out in this, I mean, I
The
can.
park's gonna just stay as
I
it is,
can-
right? You're
yes.
gonna mow it
Yeah.
or do whatever you need to do.
The city owns it, I won't
Yeah.
set foot on it without their permission.
I mean, it is an opportunity to, we're just getting walkability back to South Street, to sort of extend it.
Yeah. Currently what's there, I mean, I think it's 10,000% better. I mean, it's been sitting as a vacant, right? It's been demolished and cracked glass and everything, so I mean, it's.
As far as site
quite
plan
good.
approval goes, I assume that the rest of the application in terms of stormwater management and all of that has been submitted. And
It will be, we haven't gotten that far, but yes, everything's being contained on site.
I don't have any-
Thank you. Mr. Landry, do you want to start?
I guess a couple of things, like I say, you're gonna come back with a rendering that will show the cars instead of the grass, and the park as it is. Okay, all right. Again, I personally, I like the look of the building, the breakup of the building. I mean, like I say, it's just not a big brick. I mean, nothing against the building across the street, those are buildings that are reminiscent of the times. But to me, this just kind of reminds you, because, you know, it might not even be in my lifetime, but eventually Cross Street, all the houses will be gone. I'm just amazed you can do this much on that site.
Same.
It really is. I can't, you know, I keep looking at it. You know, because I go back to the days it used to be Frankie Leo's father's gas station.
Right, yeah, the gas station.
So,
Service station, that's it.
No, I have no objection, like I say, just as long as we could get a feel for what it would really look like. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Feldman?
Are you gonna have gates on the entryway or no?
Gates, yeah.
Yeah, for parking, because there, I mean, there's people that park there now. I'm just curious, like,
Explain your question, I don't.
like what your
On the
entryway,
gates.
like Elizabeth Miller has on her building.
I am, if that becomes, if parking becomes a problem and people
Then-
violate my,
okay.
yeah, I have a pass that you hang from your mirror, just like on all my units. If that
Yeah.
becomes an issue, then certainly, yeah.
'Cause
I
it's-
like, you like the gates, I'm kind of a fan of them, but,
Well, I mean, it's still protecting your tenants.
Right.
And not getting displaced. And
Right.
you have the things and you can yank cars out of there. Sometimes it's just easier not to let them in. I was just curious if that was the thought process. I know she did it over on her building.
I think it's pretty nice, it's technologically advanced, it brings our city to the next level. I mean, it's certainly quality looking.
Again, like I said, this is very, very creative. It's first building of this, like this in our city. Way better use of the spot. Obviously, it's not being utilized at all right now. Adding the way to add extra spots for the other building that's not gonna have any. It helps you get, you know, different tenants. And it's, you know, based on our personalities, I like the facade, the way it looks. To me, it looks like a streetscape. I don't have a lot of issues with it, to be honest with you. The flat roof there, it fits the whole area. You know, that's the one thing I was wondering if it was gonna come in, you know, with that, containing the water there is another good thing, bringing it in. You know, you've got enough land and you're doing the parking lot to perk that in. The elevator run-bys and stuff, everything's gonna be hidden. I think it looks great.
Thanks.
Ms. Collier?
What materials are you using on the building? So what?
On the upper portion,
Like, yeah, like all.
it'll be the LP Smart Side. It's a wood grain, wood
Just like you
texture.
requested on the last meeting, to make sure that we were staying in line with your requests.
That's what's going on way.
And what color?
It'll be the tans and browns and the taupes that we've got shown here. That's the intent. It's kind of this taupe, that tan,
Pebble stone.
and
The black window
this,
trim.
this bridge, yeah. Yeah. Kind of those three colors.
Okay. That's it.
I mean, for our rendering, that's as close as I could get color-wise. Every time you print something out on a computer, it comes out a different color, but that's why I brought the chips.
All right, that's it.
Thanks, Mr. Green.
Okay. I see no handicap parking.
Yeah, we've got spaces that are gonna be dedicated to handicap parking.
Okay. And how about EV parking? You gonna have any EV parking there?
Chris has one of the biggest EVs around, so yeah, we've got this whole side here that we can hook up EV parking underneath there. We've got that side there that we can do it. I've got these set up, Ron, so that there are spaces that can have the unloading zones on them.
Okay, how about spots for bicycles and stuff?
Again, we've got the portion out here in front. I have a whole portion down here on the end that we can put a bike rack in.
Can we get all that depicted on the drawing?
Yeah. Yep.
And where the water meters and the electric meters gonna go?
That goes in this, that larger size. So we've got the sprinkler riser here.
Right.
There will more than likely be a meter on the outside over here for the meter. We've got the whole maintenance building for the entry for the electric.
Water meter for the whole building?
We're probably gonna have, we'll have one riser coming in and we'll do the domestic takeoff off of the sprinkler riser.
Okay.
Yep.
But that's gonna be, you can show that on the drawing too?
Oh yeah, I can show you the sprinkler riser.
And then,
It'll be an interior space anyways, that's,
okay, and the meters, electrical meters?
Again, more than likely on the floors themselves, there'll be an electrical room for each one.
Okay.
And
They won't
those,
be on the outside of the building?
no, they'll be on the inside.
Another thing I want you to do is get a hold of the city engineer and look
Yeah.
at the sewer.
Yep.
I know with Hoffman's Car Wash, they had to camera the line to make sure.
Scope the line.
Yep. This one's all getting rebuilt on the South Street rebuild anyway, so it's all brand new at this time.
Okay, but it's still like the city
Yep.
engineer to look at that.
Yes.
And the fire department to look at the building and where they got to look in, where their connections are gonna be. I could see some approval from them, so we got it in the records. If
Yeah.
they're okay with it.
Absolutely.
PJ, was this sent to the fire, police, and engineering department?
Yes, it was sent to all the relevant departments, DPW, water and sewer, city engineer, fire, police.
Did you get any comments?
We did not.
Maybe you can reach out to
Well-
them to make sure.
I'll make sure that Tom, our civil engineer, reaches
Yeah.
out. Tom is
I'll
sending
bring it up the
it.
next
Yeah.
one, sewer board
Yeah.
meeting, so
Make sure,
make sure.
that makes sense.
And I think you got another problem too, with the density requirement.
We're right on it.
All right.
Yep. It's 12 units per floor. 2,500 square feet per unit. And that's how I got to the 24 units. It comes out right on 12 units per floor.
Okay, it's per floor, it's not for 24.
No, it's per floor.
Okay. No, it doesn't say that.
Correct?
Yes. So you had this interpretation was before.
It's not explained in the density requirements.
Yep.
what do you think of the building?
I think it could work, I don't see why it won't, I wouldn't mind seeing a landscaping plan.
Yep.
Showing the trees and grass or whatever is gonna be planted where it is, and what kind of fence is gonna be, things like that,
Yep.
just, I had no boss tell me cover your butt with paper.
As far as exterior lighting goes, obviously there's exterior lighting that's going to be down lights on the underside of this.
This should be depicted on the drawing.
Everything will be inside the building bounds here, and then on the balconies will all have recessed lights. So it's just coming
You don't
down.
want to south and outside like hanging out in the building.
No.
You probably don't either.
You're not gonna uplight the building or anything? The sign gonna be lit at all?
The sign will probably be backlit. We'll probably wind up doing those as channel letters and put LEDs inside the channel letters so that they glow.
The compass as well.
And the compass point at the top.
That'll be pointing west.
Are you asking about parking for lighting for the parking that's out external of the building? Will there be any lighting for that? Or
For
is it
street
even-
lighting.
There's so much street light on here.
Oh, that's right.
There's so many streetlights going up and down
Okay.
that part of
That's why
Broad Street
those
that won't be an issue.
Uplighting just becomes a wash at times. You know, it's kind of wasteful.
You're gonna have cameras and.
Oh yeah, cameras, security lights, it'll all be automated lighting, it'll come on as soon as the sun goes down, so,
Okay.
yep.
If I can take it very well. That way a long time.
So the fire department, Hartford commented, but I'm assuming they can make that turn pretty easily. They can get through the one.
They can make this turn, but they're not gonna bring a vehicle underneath here. The EMS can. EMS can get the ambulances and all that stuff can get underneath, but they're never gonna put a fire truck under there.
Okay.
I will guarantee that the fire department, I
They can
guarantee you will tell you that he's not gonna put
Okay.
one.
But they have plenty of space to clear all the way around.
Correct.
Okay.
So as the building currently stands, it meets the code requirements for fire department accessibility. It's 150 feet per side, and even if you pull up to the sidewalk, you have that requirement.
They can reach 150 feet, no matter, because it's fronted on 3 sides by
Yeah.
city streets.
No, I agree with what everybody else said. I think it's going to be a great use of the space.
And how about, there's just another question, it's probably nothing to do with site plan and construction, when you're doing the construction, how are you gonna, you're not gonna be blocking off South Street or sidewalks, staging?
Well, they're obviously gonna have to do some closing off of the sidewalk while they're working on the building.
Just for lay down area for dumpsters or whatever, but yeah, just minimal.
Yeah, we've got space back here that we can do the dumpsters on site while they're doing the building work, because that's outside the bounds of the building.
It's kind of nice that we have that 20 to 25 foot buffer all the way around.
Yeah, and like I said, the way that South Street is cut up now, there's actually parking. You can see the parking spaces in the rendering. There are parking spaces that go down along here. Currently, there's also parking spaces that come down South Street on that side.
There's a main thoroughfare in
Yep.
the city, there's enough stuff going on
Oh, yeah.
already on South Street.
Yep.
Are the sidewalks in good shape on all sides?
Yeah, they've recently all been redone.
All, okay.
Yeah, that when they redid the park, this whole side was done, and South Street was done all the way down to New Prime.
Anybody else have any comments?
Good.
Are we even entertaining a conditional approval, or are we looking to kick this thing down the road? Just curious. I know we asked for some drawings and a couple of things.
I think there's too much to give a conditional approval, but I think if you came back with everything in January, you'd get your vote back.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll table it till January?
Yeah.
Okay, then I will make a motion. The Glens Falls Planning Board table the project of the Point at 10 Broad Street as presented at today's meeting, December 9th, 2024, and be tabled until the January 2025 planning meeting. Second. All in favor? Great. Thank you.
You've got a list. All of your minutes for what's needed.
Next on the agenda is 46 to 56 South Street project, patent project development representing Glens Properties LLC, owners of tax map number 309.28-2-6, commonly known as 46 to 56 South Street, seeking architectural review and site plan review for the restoration and alteration of exterior facade and other alterations of the currently vacant building. So,
Good evening, again for your records, Ethan Hall with Rosinski Hall Architecture, John Lapper with Bartlett Farm Stewart the Roads, Chris Patton, the developer of the project. So this project was originally the NIMS project, which this board reviewed and approved 3 years ago, I believe. The building is the corner of South and Elm. The first floor of the building currently is vacant. There's nothing in it right now at all. The first floor is all commercial space. The 2 upper floors were originally part of the shirt making industry. There's still a lot of the stuff up there from when it was the collar factory. So the drawings that you have in your packets, the first couple of drawings are the existing floor plans of what's there now. The existing roof is leaking. It has been leaking for a number of years, and it has caused some pretty significant structural damage inside the building. So with the project was never undertaken by Chad Jones. He got the approval to do it, never started any of the work, never did any of the work, never moved in and never did anything. Chris is in the process of purchasing the building from Chad with the intent that as soon as an approval is obtained, he's going to get in and start fixing the building. If we can get an approval, we'd like to get in there and start fixing that immediately.
We will be buying the building if and only if the other project at 10 Broad Street can sustain the parking. So they kind of rely on one another. I won't buy this building unless I have parking. As you all know, it's silly. I need places for my tenants to park, and so that was...
Because this is in the CCD, it's not required. It's not required.
But it's necessary if you're going to rent the park.
But necessary if you're going to have rentals. So the drawings that we've produced for the buildings, as Chris said, there will be 6 tenant spaces, commercial spaces on the main floor. So there's our commercial use. We're looking at potentially doing a restaurant on the corner of Elm and South. The rest of them would be rentals as somebody would need them. They could be combined so that somebody could take 1, 2, 3, somebody could take the whole thing if they wanted. It is set up that way. Currently, there are not, these stairs that are shown going down into the basement space do not exist. So those would be, we would be making those for the individual commercial tenants as they're needed. Okay. Coming in off from the Elm Street side, there is an overhead door that comes in there now, and the main stairwell on this side of the building runs up this side here. And then there is an interior stair, but that is the only other means of egress. There is really one means of egress that goes from the main floor to the 3rd floor, and that's it. It's on this side right here. There is a set of stairs currently that runs up here to the 2nd floor, and then from the 2nd floor you have to take this main stairwell to get up to the 3rd floor. From the 3rd floor, there is an old stairwell that's back here in the corner that's only inhabited by pigeons at this point. And the issue with that is that it comes down and it used to exit the building and go out into what is now the patio for the Golden Monkey. And obviously we can't exit onto somebody else's property. The property line, when we say site, we're looking for site plan review. The property corners, the property line is the building line. This building occupies the entire site. So outside of the building bounds, there is no property lines. This is the current exterior elevation. Like I said, the main floor, the 2 upper floors are basically, again, exactly the same. 8 apartments across the front, all 1 bedroom of various sizes and layouts, and then 2 2-bedroom units in the back that will be on the south side of the building. We are, again, adding an elevator. We are adding a second means of egress on this end of the building, which will exit out onto the front, out in the front of the building, and become the main entrance to the apartments, so that the apartments have their own kind of entity here. There is also an entry, we're maintaining the entry that goes out onto Elm Street on that side, and then of course all the commercial spaces have their own entries.
It'd be the closest spot to the 10 Broad Street location as well. That's why we picked that front right corner.
Right.
To get to the parking.
Correct.
Yeah, so that people will have to walk less than a block.
Yep. 200 feet.
Again, we would make the stairwell on the elevator side of the building go to the roof so that all of our HVAC equipment that's on the roof can be accessed up there. This is kind of the layout of it. One of the questions that was posed is what happens on the back side of the building. Right now, it's just a big brick facade that's infilled with plywood. We are putting windows that will match the windows that are going in the front. And then there will be siding that's going on the side of the building back there, and that will be the LP Smart side and the color. So this is the rendering that we put together for them. These are the colors. It's this blue and this blue. So it's a dark, it's not a flashy blue, it's a very dark color. The stone that we are showing is not cultured stone, that's real stone, real granite. It will go on the columns. The columns are there, the brick columns are there, and we're going to put the stone over the brick. And we'll run that up to this band on the opposite side, and then everything else is the brick on the top.
Those columns are a bit cracked, and so that's the need for
Right.
to having overtopping them with a facade-like material.
Ethan, Nina had asked about the overhead door at the corner.
Yeah, so this is the overhead door. This is just going to be a coiling door, and that's so that we can get access to what will be the restaurant. That's for deliveries and pickups. The garbage containers will be inside there.
There's one on the lower left too, correct? The lower rendering?
This is an overhead door that's going into the restaurant itself. It's a glass one that can be opened up so that the restaurant can be opened to the side.
Like Mikado?
Like Craft Online or Southpaw.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Same idea.
Right.
But this is the one this is for deliveries and pickups, and we have that set aside inside the building for the garbage, and because that's not, part of that is actually not inside the building. The building doesn't actually start until here, so we have this set up for the garbage and the recycling, so those can be roll-off containers that can be stored behind that door so that they're not outside.
I was wondering about that. It almost looks like that's a separate building.
Yeah.
It's almost, it was something that looks like it was added at some point in between there and Hank's. Mhm. With that?
Yeah. Nina, would you like to start?
For protocol, you want my comments and then ask for public
Actually,
comments
no, I'm
first?
sorry, I was supposed to do public comments first, I forgot, I'm sorry.
However it works.
Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak on this application? Sure, come on up. Thank you. Hello again.
Hello, Gary Mukula at 3 Broad Street. I think it's great that you're actually developing the building and there's a use for it because that building has sat vacant for way too long, and it's a beautiful building. So I'm just going to talk about the facade. I think everything, basically from the storefront up, I like the repainting, replacement of windows, et cetera, It's maintaining, the historic building that's there. But at the storefronts themselves, I think the existing brick pilasters that separate each of the storefronts or the sort of tenant spaces are an integral part of the building, and they sort of tie that storefront to the upper part of the building. And I think that the stone that's being proposed there is inappropriate for a downtown building, and I think that the existing brick piers, columns that are there, probably should be repaired and painted like the rest of the facade, and basically tie the overall facade together. The infill between those columns, where there's, again, stone being shown, again, it's very inappropriate for a building of that nature. The storefront should be infilled with temporary storefront materials, whether that's aluminum frame or wood frame or anything else. It's basically an element that fits between the existing piers. So to take the stone from the columns down into that, and it is just not appropriate. The existing building has some beautiful transom glass across each of those little storefronts. Some of it filled with nice old prismatic glass. I don't know that all of it is in place, but all of the transom framing is in place. It's an important element, historical element, and I think it should be preserved and not replaced with brick in that area. So anyway, I think the storefronts really should reflect more an historic nature of the building and not have materials added to it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else like to comment? Thank you. Okay, now, back to Nina, sorry.
Question, are you showing, it almost looks as if you're showing stone going all the way up in this rendering, but.
We
It's painted.
the original one, we did
Yeah.
have that.
I did not like it.
Knocked that out, so we took that out from there, so the only place that he's proposing it is below on that front facade and then wrapping around the corner on that side.
I've appeared before this board to present projects a while ago for an old historic storefront, the old insurance building on Bay, and it made a lot of sense to bring back the vocabulary of what that storefront and what Glens storefronts used to be, which was the window and then the panels down below, the wood panels down below. And I actually really like the idea of painted brick piers coming all the way down just as a consistent continuation. I just don't see the precedent for that kind of stuff. You can still get the rhythm of each bay.
I mean, it would be such a huge savings financially for me, so if you wanted that, I would love to do it.
My feeling is, right?
I mean, it's,
No,
yeah, it's.
so
the
the cornice across the top, it's tight, it's sharp, the water table just above the storefronts as everything comes down to it, again, it's crisp, it's really pretty. When you get below that, it doesn't feel so much like the original building, which does have its charm as ucky as it is right now. And thank you for taking on this building. But I was just, looking at some of the storefronts in town, the raised wood panels.
I was looking at the old farmer's market, and then in relation to the new one too, and boy, did they really not capture it in that old style, did they?
But even
So
if you look
it's kind of
along
nice
the
to have a
street,
little
if you
new
look
vision.
along even that section where, I don't know, the golden monkey has the.
Sure, they kept that.
Again, you do have wood frame around there, it looks like?
Yes,
And is that stained, is that?
yeah, the
painted?
intent would be that would be stained wood, very similar to what he did on the corner.
The backdrop for the signs that would potentially go there.
Yeah. But we can certainly look at doing an infill that more closely matches what's there.
Yeah.
I mean, it does have to be replaced.
Right.
What's there, most of the panels are broken, most of the glass is destroyed.
Sure, yeah.
The building's been vacant for so long that when a window got broken, it wasn't replaced, they just put plywood over it.
Right, and then the
So-
pigeons moved in, just everything, the detail around the windows, I think it looks great. I do have a question around back. You said you're putting LP Smart Side on the entire rear facade?
Yes.
Yeah, if you took a visit.
If
up there,
you
it's
get up and look closely at the brick,
terrible.
Oh, yeah.
it needs, the brick is all gonna have to be,
Horizontal,
it will be horizontal.
horizontal panels and then just something at the corner? It
Yes.
will terminate at the
Terminate,
corner?
yeah, termination.
We're gonna strip that entire back of the building and then sheet the entire thing, and then the whole thing it's falling down, it's falling on Hank's roof.
So it has to be repointed and
Everything.
You're gonna be putting zip on that probably?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Your continuous installation.
Yeah, just to get it so that it's one continuous plane.
Yep, green board, just like they did it.
So it'll be clapboard, horizontal clapboard, sort of wide, skinny? do you
Wide, it'll be
know?
wider
As
plane,
wide as
probably
possible. I mean, I would
6
suggest
inches minimum.
As wide as possible.
Yeah.
given
Easy
the
for
scale
install,
of
yeah.
that
Yep.
building.
I think Smart Side comes in 6, 8, and maybe 10
Yeah.
each width.
Really, just, it will be wonderful to see that building as something other than what we've been looking at for so many years. But I really like the idea of recapturing what classic Glens streetscape store.
Would you prefer-
Material.
Yeah, question. Would you prefer the, because I would like the storefronts to be almost flush in between those brick columns. That's what I had originally proposed, and we kind of went back and forth on the stone. I like just straight glass, full brick to brick, all, aluminum clad and glass.
Could be that, I think.
The only issue that we would have is we do have to recess the door.
Yeah,
Because
I
the
mean,
door,
just-
the door on the commercial entity has to swing.
From a construction point of view, and maybe work off the sidewalk, so you'd want to probably frame around them.
I've
So
got
I would think
pricing
you'd want to
in
tie it
the-
all together. from
Yeah,
material.
I mean, that's pretty much what we've got. We're straight and flush all the way across. and we just recess the doors so that they don't protrude out onto the sidewalk.
It'd be such a cost savings, so if you would rather just have, glass brick to brick and we repaint the columns, fine.
It's up to the voting members of the board, but those are my comments.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Green, you want to start?
If it was up to me, I would leave the storefronts the way they are now, set that kind, just the original character of the building.
Yep.
I think that would, it's my opinion, try and make it look like it did, 100 years. I think it's a great project you're doing. I know we went through this with Chad Dems and it never became the fruition, but other than that, keeping the brick and keeping the storefronts the same, making it look the same, maybe get a hot dog thing back in there.
You guys had approved white with a red awning, and it was a super nice building, but since then, the Golden Monkey in that building, they painted theirs white with black, and so that's why the necessary change.
The color is going to be that
Contrast.
gray, Ethan?
What's
Is that
that?
a gray color? Or-
And like a navy, it's here
Blue.
provided.
Is that blue?
Actually, can you pass those around?
Sure.
I think
This would be on the back there, similar to that
color.
and then that,
Okay, yeah, that's a bit.
and where the fold is.
Is that
Just
the
gonna
same
put
color?
a contrast on the white.
Rubetti's is a little bit brighter.
Brighter.
Yeah. But
I think that color is going to, the blue is going to be beautiful.
Me too. It's, if you look, there's nothing else like it, so that's what I'm
That's
trying to do.
right.
Like,
That's
I always do that when I build houses too, I definitely take the time to look around.
Yeah, I think that's going to be,
As far
and the
as
size of
the
it.
site plan, same thing as the other building.
there is no site to this.
No, but I mean water and sewer.
I've already been in contact with them.
Okay.
The major problem with this building right now is that the current water tap for both the sprinkler, not the domestic, but the sprinkler line, is leaking. They can't seem to shut the valve off, so I've already been in talks with Tom and everybody.
Last winter, 2 winters ago.
Yep. So they committed to helping replace that main, so we'll do our domestic and our new,
Okay, and you got the sewer lines
Sewer line goes out on down. Yeah.
and the fire department.
Fire department connection, there's already a sprinkler in the building, so it will,
The same thing with the sidewalk, I know you're gonna, across the street, there's no sidewalk anymore, they got that all blocked off.
Yep.
it seems like, so.
so I've been to the city and talked about potentially closing down a portion of Elm Street for the project.
Okay.
Just the end of my building, so.
and then across the front as well. The
Just this parking
basement
spaces.
space on this is actually similar to many of the basement spaces in the city. The actual basement goes out under the sidewalk. So
You got water and sewer meters around the container?
Inside.
Yep, in the basement.
Okay. And,
electrical's all inside.
Yeah.
Electrical's fed from the rear corner of the
Which
building.
will change that too, because it currently runs over top of Hank's Quality Flooring building. We'll try to get into the network underground.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get that out from the top of the building.
very good.
Will this remain brick that?
Yes, that's the portion that's on the west side of the building.
That's
Yes.
gonna be brick, you're not cladding
No,
that?
not that.
No, the only reason obviously because those window openings are huge and there's no need for that size of a window and then also the deteriorating brick.
Thank you. Ms. Collier?
Can you go back to the rendering the color? So I agree that it should stay as is, with a classical style of,
Facade.
yeah.
Along the bottom.
Yep,
Yeah, we can
and,
take the brick out, we can put the panels underneath the windows,
um,
similar to what's there
so
now.
why not do a brick facade over the brick instead of,
Because it's on our property line. And to do that, we're building outside the property line.
You're being close
so
to the city property.
so the brick is falling apart right now?
There's just cracks vertically.
The brick that's falling apart is the brick that's on the backside of this building.
No, well, I mean the
Above-
front side.
above Hank's?
The front side.
That's, the storefront side has some cracks in it, but outside of that, the brick is
It
in
can be
pretty
repaired.
Well,
decent
that,
shape.
because I'm confused as to why you would put stone and not brick on the front.
On the pillars,
Yeah,
Yep.
we're just
Leaving
leaving
it the
the
way it
existing
is.
brick and paint it.
Right.
personally,
so
I
what
like the
about
way it looks.
What about on the bottom? Isn't that, did you say you?
This is the panels that we're talking about underneath
So that would be
there.
the panels?
Yeah, that'll be the metal or aluminum panel that's there now, and then there'll be solid glass above it. And then the transoms, obviously, that are there, we'll just replace those with new transom pieces.
So the stone's gone.
I propose that concept because it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it matches like, you know, the Saratoga city limits, the San
Gray and blue
Ignacio's.
look nice.
It's gorgeous, and that's why we propose it. If you don't like the stone, I mean, certainly we could get rid of it, but it's a huge cost for me.
A cost savings.
A cost savings to get rid of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm only doing it to try to match, you know, the San Ignacio projects. I mean, let's be honest, what he builds is gorgeous, so. Just trying
And
to
you're
keep it
gonna have
on.
that big building going up, you know, that a lot of people don't realize that, yes, that's very historic there.
Not
To
for
start
long.
that coming from your building you own now, you're gonna have a brand new building going up there.
Yeah,
It's
5
gonna
more
change
across the
look
street.
of A lot of stuff on that street.
With the most modern farmer's market in all of the country.
Right. In the historic city.
It looks like a cruise ship. It's beautiful, beautiful cruise ship.
It's a leaf.
It's a
It's a
Yeah.
big bird sleep.
It's gorgeous. Super modern.
You're okay with it?
Not brick. No brick for the record on that place. Excuse me. Yes, I'm okay with whatever you
That's it?
guys like.
Art, do you have anything else to say?
No, the blue is growing on me, and like, and you really process it, that there is a lot of new stuff going on there, that's gonna be mixing in with the old, so I think it's a pretty good, mix of old and new, and trying to keep the older building flair. Bringing it back to life is great.
I think so.
And then, again, adding parking with that means a lot.
Yeah, it's huge, because we're getting rid of some parking, right, with the farmer's market
Yeah.
being taken over. So
100%.
it's a lot of people's concern downtown.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Landry?
I guess it's just to echo, you know, that granite, you know, go back, make it look like what it used to. To me, that just, as soon as I saw it, it's almost like you're trying to make an old building look new.
Yeah.
And I think by going back to the original concept, this is gonna be a renovation of the building.
Cool.
You know, I mean, it's just, to me, it kind of blows me away that that building can look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and not too difficult to get it there. I mean,
No.
it's a big building, but, you know, once you rip the facades out and rebuild them, I mean, I think it will go pretty quickly.
And I think, I mean, the blue is kind of a daring color, but I think it's kind of a classy blue too.
Yeah, same.
I mean, it's,
Not stark.
yeah,
It's not a stark, it's a, you know, having it being a darker navy with a, you
you know,
know.
it's kind of a traditional, you know, bring back the original. To me, it's gonna be a real classy restoration of a, you know, one of the old shirt companies type of
Right.
thing. That-
It's good that you added that. You can just see the building next door with the white.
Yeah.
Right.
Just see what,
The
how,
contrast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll complement, if anything, right?
Yeah.
You know, kind of
And
tie
and the
together.
same, the same with Hanks.
Yeah.
No, like I say, other than, like I say, changing those bottoms, I think it looks great.
I agree with everything that they said. I think that'll look really nice at the bottom. Where's the elevator? Is it gonna protrude at the top of the elevator? Will we
The
see
nice
it?
thing about it is we don't have to protrude the elevator. This building has 6 feet of attic space in it. So because we're only going to the 3rd floor, our run-by only has to be 13 feet 8 above that floor. It doesn't get us past the roof, so we're not gonna have to penetrate the roof of the elevator.
Are you doing a hydraulic or cable?
Electric.
Well, electric, but is it,
Electric.
It's all
Modern.
I know, but it's gonna, how is it driven?
A motor, electric
Cable,
motor,
right. So
electric
you
motor
don't
with a
need that
cable.
wheel on the top, so you don't need a ton of space.
No. You still need the 13-foot 8 run-by. That's so that's an elevator requirement. There's a hoist beam on the top so that they can bring the cab up, lock it off, and access underneath it.
Yeah, I don't own an electric elevator, so I'm looking forward to it.
We didn't ask on the other building, and I know on the one you're proposing for Glen Street, is the apartment's gonna be heat and all that included, and you're doing because you're not doing the heat the way you did it now?
Correct. Separately metered here.
Okay, so that this is not gonna be a centralized thing?
No.
Okay.
Will there be a bank?
But all electric.
Exterior?
Inside.
But all electric?
Yeah, correct. Same, yeah.
Electric
Way
heat
for the
pumps.
future. Heat pumps.
So all the utilities will be inside the building, it's not gonna be like heat pumps and,
Nope, everything's on the roof.
Actually, if I might, this back portion here, like this little section,
Right.
it's got the same kind of like parapet facade that'll actually drop our units down, so you won't even see them from Hank's quality flooring, but that'll be a nice little windrow for us to line up all of our mechanicals.
Right.
From the street looking up, you would,
You know, the only
Same
place
with
you
the-
might see this would be the roof of the, if you go to the roof of the mill,
The mill,
you might see them.
And Chris, that's all flat, no solar?
Oh yeah, and all flat, there's no solar in mind.
Okay.
And-
No, I guess just,
Because it looks very crisp with nothing
Yeah.
sticking out.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't see
Yeah,
it.
no, it does.
And that's different than a lot of other buildings.
we had the people that proposed the building over here on Maple Street, that they were
Yeah.
gonna do solar up there that you wouldn't see, so I was just curious.
Yeah.
You know,
The windows in the attic, are they all glass?
These are grills.
They're
They're
grills for
just
rear.
air, they're just air
Got
grills
it. Okay.
for ventilation, so we can vent the attic. Because the insulation will be at the
Yeah.
ceiling level of the third floor,
Yeah.
leave the attic cold.
And then the transoms, they were talking about, Mr. Jordan saying the little thing,
That's
are
it.
those going to be for the businesses now, like we'll have the name on, like you have it? in
Yep,
the- okay.
yeah, there would be tenant signage for each. And again, until there's a tenant, we'll need signage, and any signage that we do, we'll have to go through a sign permit, and if it's not a permitted sign, then it has to come back here.
We'll provide power for lighted signs. It'll be a nice little spot, nice little background.
I think it's gonna be a great addition. I love the color. I think it's gonna be so crisp and clean.
So if you could put this one on for January also, we'll get everything submitted.
Do we need to?
Do we need to?
Well, do you wanna do them all together, because you said one without?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like Ethan to make all the changes that you guys have asked for, and I just, to recap all we've done tonight, I just want to make sure that he is going to capture everything, both on the first building and this one. And so with that said, the facade, exterior stuff, I know you guys had a couple specific requests, but it's the overall building, the way that looked with the up and the down and all that, is that something that you guys liked or didn't like? Or did we like this clean line? Because that was back and forth with Ethan and I, to be honest. You know, I didn't love the up and down as much.
Yeah.
I just wanted
The
to,
articulated facade.
if it's something that we could go back, I mean, I could certainly make that straight. Again, that's a huge cost.
no,
savings
it's
for
a
me.
huge cost thing for you, and it's like, this is a historic building, and it's there, and it's one
Okay.
property.
Yeah.
Like, again, I like, it's up to, that's just my opinion.
I just want to streamline our efforts, so then
You
we
know,
come
somebody
back.
else might have a different, I like that look.
I agree.
back
I
on.
don't think everything should look the same, you know, so.
Okay, yeah.
If it's a different building, like this is all one building, you
Yeah.
know, and it has that line, and it's a classic historic building, like Mr. McCool said, bringing those storefronts and adding the granite, I mean, and I'm amazed at what's going on in the city. You know, the last time you guys were here, the room, you couldn't get a seat,
All right.
and here we are, a month later, and we have very few people here,
Mhm.
you know, so I think that's a nice looking building.
Thanks. Yeah, hopefully we get going on it as soon as possible. Like to his comment, I do want to get started on it right away, but naturally I can't. One without the other is not feasible, so.
So you
But
wanna
again, if
take,
somebody else wants to comment and likes the one roof line, I mean. on
I
the other
think the
project.
shape of that building on the point would be odd looking with one roof line. I really do. I think it would be very
It's long.
office building.
It's longer,
Yeah,
yeah.
it would
Yeah,
look,
good.
to me, it would look like.
So we won't make any changes to that. We'll just provide the drawings that you requested and communicate with everyone and hopefully get everything you guys are looking for January. Because yeah, I am looking to get started.
You want to do both of these in January?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, as Ethan said, there's some structural
Potentially
failures.
vote on this one tonight, if you want.
Yeah, it's not gonna give me, I won't close on the contract until I know. So it
So we'll
doesn't,
table it and do it cleanly all together in January.
whatever's your opinion.
Half of one and six of another. I mean, I think when we come back, it's
We're not
it's
doing
gonna
one
be.
without the other.
Yeah,
Correct.
I think when we come back, it'll be, you know, yes, we've answered all the things that we talked about tonight with this building. I've updated the rendering.
Yeah, well, we have an opportunity to kind of get a little bit of feedback before we present, if he can modify these drawings so we can show you guys and.
Well, it'll be when we come back and say,
Okay.
you know, here, we addressed the items that they asked for, and if there's anything else that comes
But if
up.
they were submitted in like, say, 2 weeks and they were emailed to us, we could look at it.
Right, that's what I'm trying to do. You guys understand.
Yeah.
So something that should just be brought to attention is that the next board meeting will have 2 new members who will be fresh to this and will be down with the board members who's here tonight, if I understand correctly. So that's just something that should be,
One's already here, right?
well, no, there'll be 2 more. There's Mr. Bruno, and then there's going to be a 7th, but I believe
You'll have to bring them up to speed.
Okay.
Give us some drawings.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll table this, I'll make a motion. The Glens Planning Board table the application of 46 to 56 South Street project, patent property development, representing Glens Properties LLC, commonly known as 46 to 56 South Street, for site plan and architecture review, tabled until the January 2025 meeting. Second. All in favor?
You guys set a date for that one yet or no? Sorry.
It'll be early January 11th.
Thank you.
Just because it falls on a holiday and then, you know, we need each other.
Okay.
We'll get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, that's right. Thank you. The last item on the agenda is sign board review for Saxton Sign Corp., representing owner of tax map, commonly known as 194 Broad Street, seeking sign board review of 7 signs for Hoffman's Car Wash. Hello.
I don't have a tripod, so we have to make this work. Make it work.
It's heavy.
Just set that there. I could turn it over that way too. You need to take a look at it as well.
Bill, when the last project got its approval, do you know the date that I could look up the minutes? This project? No.
Trust
The Jet Nims,
Chad and him.
I don't know, I have to look it up.
That was, I mean, that was years ago.
3 years.
It was more than 3 years ago. I feel like it was
Yeah,
like,
before that I came on
it
board.
was, yeah, it was like in one of my earlier projects.
All right.
All set?
Hi there. Can you
How you doing?
introduce yourself to the board, please?
Sure. My name is Ron Levesque. I'm with Saxon Sign Company. I'm here representing Hoffman Car Wash, 194 Broad Street. I'm back here before you today because the last time we had met, the board had some concerns over the placement of the freestanding sign. So we went ahead and we addressed those concerns. Went back to the drawing board and we moved the sign to a new placement. I was hoping that maybe everybody here have the revised plans for the new placement located on there.
Is it, it's reflected there though, right?
It's right here in the blue. This is a, go with this one here then. It's more of a close-up of it here. So this is the viewing triangle we had talked about in the past, right here. So the sign was over here. Now we had moved it over to this area further down the road. There were some concerns about the location of it being so close to that drive exit and entrance. We knew that we're pretty close to the minimum requirements, but by moving it this way, we were able to address a few of the concerns of the board as far as the visibility. So we did a sightline visibility from, say the worst case scenario would be this driver here looking down the road, and as you can see, he's well down the road for oncoming traffic. Of course, this way here, he has clear visibility going down towards the west, but on east, and then also he's got a visibility for pedestrian traffic as well, coming down. And with that being said, what we did is we took the measurement from the sign, the leading edge of the sign to the curb, which would be 5 feet 8 inches to the sidewalk. No, excuse me. From the curb to the sidewalk, there's a space there, and it's 5 feet 8 inches. Then you have the sidewalk, which is 5 feet. From that edge of the sidewalk to the sign itself is 5 feet 6 inches. So we're able to push that back, and we're still within the property line. So the property line to the sign is 5 feet 6 inches. We also have, oh, excuse me, so the sidewalk sign, give it up myself. The sidewalk to the sign is 8 feet. From the property line to the sign is 5 feet 6 inches. We also took note of the distances between the property line on the west and the property line to the east. The west was 103 feet 6 inches, and the property line on the east was, excuse me, I'm gonna go backwards again. 67 feet to the west, 6 inches, and 103 feet, 6 inches from the east. So we got quite a bit of distance now than we had before. And the other thing that the board had requested that we come back with additional information on the electronic message component. And if you were to take a look at, and they want to include it in our drawings, so we included those in the drawings as well. And those were basically concerned about how long the sign was going to be on for before it changed. So when we did our research, we came back that right now New York State DOT requires at least 8 seconds. So Hoffman's proposing 15 seconds before it changes. We're going to stay a little bit longer because the traffic's a little slower in this area. If those were probably the only issues that I need to be addressed as far as the freestanding sign goes. So I can answer any questions you have on those.
Do you want to go over all the signs and then just discuss them after you hear about all the signs? There's a few more signs to discuss.
Yes, there's building signs and directional signs and kiosks.
Yeah. Why don't you go right ahead and tell us about the signs?
Okay. The building sign, which has the main branding, is a complement of the freestanding sign brand name. So if you see car wash on the freestanding sign, it's the same exact channel letters are going to be mimicked on the building. And they're also the same size, just the channel letters. So they're identical. And those are going to be made of aluminum and plastic with a diffuser on the front. So during the day, it's going to look black, and at night, it'll turn white. The graphic image will remain the same day and day-night. That will not change. We're also proposing on the building a open sign. And the reason why we put an open sign neon, it's kind of retro, but it gives the best visibility because in the winter, some people may think they're closed because they close the doors to the tunnel to keep it warm, and they open them up as the cars go out. Of course, if there's a long line of traffic, the doors will stay open longer. But in some cases, they're closed. So we put an open sign in to let people know they are open. And then we use some wayfinding signs. The wayfinding signs are typically anywhere from 3 to 4 feet high, 1 feet high by 4 feet wide. And in some cases where we have to do multiple, instead of adding an additional sign, we combine them together. And therefore, it was allowing us to propose 3 directional signs as opposed to 4. And those are illuminated and they are one-sided. And then last we have is, oh, can we slow down?
Nope.
Okay. And last we have is what we call the kiosk. They basically take the replacement of a person standing outside. Kaufman used to have a person outside taking orders, or they have to go to the tunnel, and it would slow cars down, and it actually created a gridlock with cars backing up. So with the kiosks, they can do 3 lanes of accepting payments and looking at the price menu. Typically, we see through a drive-through, but everything is electronic. They pay right there at the kiosk. So at each drive lane, you'll see a message board and a payment kiosk. And they're typically 6 to 7 feet tall. Let me see it. Yeah, and this one here shows all the locations of the signs. You can see it over there as well. So. A being a freestanding, C's are our directionals, B is the building sign, E is the neon, and these are your kiosks, the D.
What was C3? Exit, what is that?
C3, that's your, I think that's your combination.
Just your directional, tell you where to go?
It's a directional sign.
No, I mean, I think the last time, I know one of my concerns was the sign A.
Sign A, yes, freestanding sign.
Right, it was close to the sidewalk, it was close to, And you're saying it's 8 feet from the sidewalk now?
See, yes,
I think that's a much better location
Yes.
for it. And then, I guess, you know, we sort of went through, and all my questions regarding the other signs, I think were answered at your last presentation. The day and night, black on the day, white at night,
Yes.
that's the one that's on the building facade,
Right.
right? And then, and I don't recall, maybe you answered this last time, will that remain lighted all night?
no, we could shut it off at an hour after closing, if that's typically what the board requires, or what's normal as far as code goes. Sometimes there's a code that, all businesses have a certain time period to shut it off. I think-
don't know that there is, I don't know that that specifically exists as.
I believe
so
the
my-
city code requires that as long as there's employees on the ground, that
Right.
needs to be lit up, because we had that problem with the strip all across the street. They
Got it.
have their lights off at like 7 o'clock year round, or 8 o'clock year round. And some of those businesses are open until 10.
You're only open till 9, correct?
Correct. Typically, most businesses leave them on an hour after, in case they're walking out the door and getting in their vehicles or taking out garbage and other things they may have to do.
That makes sense, that
So-
seems appropriate.
One of my concerns with this is because Well Now, right? I was driving, Well Now. I was driving down one night and it was very bright shining into the home next to it. And I don't remember if we ever, what the stipulation was for their signs. Like the sign on the sides is very bright and shining right into the home. So I think the earlier,
Yeah.
the earlier the better for
Right.
light.
The building sign projects on the broad street as well as the front sign. But typically with these types of signs, the building sign with the diffuser, even when it's white at night, it's not a bright white.
Yeah, no, that was just my question,
Yes.
how long it's gonna stay on, and for those of us who get confused and think we're gonna get our car washed at 10 o'clock.
I can't remember.
I think it is.
It's on.
Well, they used to be a 24-hour business.
Yeah, that's true.
Before COVID, they were open 24/7.
These ones that are on the property, they're like car wash, they're illuminated, but they'll be off at night, right? And
Yes.
people are not.
Yeah.
And it's all away from, it's all facing that commercial strip.
Right.
Yeah, it's all
Everything
boxed
back
in.
where we're worried about the neighbors is all.
Yeah, they
It's all dark.
all
It's
dark.
all, it's all being drowned out by Walgreens and Well Now.
No, I have no other comments, I think
Yeah.
the placement of the sign A is much better.
Yeah, that was the big one.
Yeah.
Mr. Green, anything?
I have no comments. I wasn't here when this whole thing started, so I'll just be quiet.
Well, the big thing, maybe, the sign A was right up on the corner where people were pulling out. That was the issue we had.
Yeah, we had to address some of those concerns.
And that was, yeah, that's a good solution.
Sight lines drawn, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Bridget, do you have anything?
Nope, I agree with Nina. That was the biggest issue was the location. And I think that's a much better choice. Then people won't have to be inching into, too much.
Thank you.
No, like I said already, that was a good solution.
Yes.
Moving it down a little ways. I think it's gonna look great. They always keep the properties up.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I don't have any other issues with that.
No, same thing. Like I said, that looks a lot better. And, one thing, and I think it works to your favor, my concern was the curve to the sign, which
Yes.
is 19 feet.
Yes.
So that actually is part of the sight line that you can't claim. But I mean, you're almost 20 feet off the curb.
Yeah.
And I think the average car is like 16 or 17, so you could actually, if you wanted to go out right to the curb, you use your full car.
Yeah.
But even now, with that move down, the second car actually
Yeah.
has pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
And the other thing to the testament of the whole project, I've had 3 previous non-believers comment that it wasn't as big as they thought it was. That, and I just leave it at that, but, for some reason, they thought it was gonna be some big monstrosity.
Okay.
Well, maybe they thought they were gonna put the self-washing bays and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so motion then. I'd like to make a motion that the Glens Falls Planning Board, acting as the Board of Sign Review, approve the sign application for Saxton Sign Corp., representing the owner of tax map 309.1-5-42, commonly known as 194 Broad Street, for sign review as presented at the meeting of December 9th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anything else we need to discuss before we close it out?
Say goodbye to Bridget.
That's true. Bridget, we would like to say goodbye to Bridget and thank her for her time on the planning board.
I have, my kids are very busy. I coach 2 sports. I just have too much going on right now.
Well, thank you, we appreciate it. Thank you, Bridget. I'd like to make a motion that we convene. You're busy. Adjourn the planning board meeting of December 9th, 2024.